Good morning. And that is so true. God's so good to me, and I'm sure God is so good to all of you. So thank you for being here. And so, well, it's such a cold day. I want to say thank you for being so dedicated that you chose to get up on this cold winter's day and make your way right here, right now. That is such a blessing, not only to me, but to you, to this building and the surrounding area as you bring your light and love here. But why are we brought here? No, why are we coming together? What's bringing you here? Maybe I'll start off that way. But first, I gave that thanks, and I was thanking God too for this and for this time that we have together. But you know, we're needing to have family and friends, and I think that's why I said, you know, please come to get to know me. I want to get to know you, because I want to know what it is that's bringing, okay, this goes into that. I want to know what's bringing you to this moment, that you chose to get up on a cold winter's day and come into this place. What is it, your expectations for finding a spiritual path? What are you looking for? But I think we all are on this journey of searching for truth. I think that's what we want, that closer connected. This is my reason for doing, making my path. I've always wanted to know more about the divine. I want to have a closer walk with God. And so it brought me on a path that took me so many different ways. And I do have this mic for you, believe it or not. I'm feeling the energy coming in. But someone mentioned this week to me, or said something about, I want to know what the teachings of unity are. What's the foundations of it? And when I look back, this started well over 100 years ago, maybe 150 or more. But the Daily Word, someone mentioned last week or week before, that it's been out for 100 years. But before that, there were a lot of teachings going on before they started that one publication. But it was Myrtle and Charles Fillmore who met, got married, and their life together evolved into a place where that search had already been going on within them, and they found that right partner that helped create Unity Village. It was called Unity School of Christianity, and that's where I went, because I was so drawn to the Christian path that answered a whole lot of things for me, because they were going deeper into the Word and knowing the metaphysical meaning, or got that metaphysical understanding. Where did they get a metaphysical understanding? What the heck is a metaphysical understanding? Metaphysics refers to going beyond the physical knowledge, going beyond just the letter of something, but going into the spirit of it. Now, how do we go into the spirit of it? We start, like we talked last week, be still. As Jesus said, or the Bible says, be still and know that I am God. Jesus came to that fullness of understanding that in him was the seed of divinity, and his path from birth to a child led him to that place where he finally said, it is finished. I turn it over to you to follow me if you choose. If you choose, follow me, and all that I do, you can do also. Myrtle Fillmore had been a sickly child all her life, and she was convinced, and her family was convinced, that she had lung disease, black lung. And so she got to the place, it was about time they thought, she's going to die. She was weak, her body, all this. But she was a very Christian lady, and she went to a tent meeting, I believe it was, or a meeting, and the gentleman there that was teaching was talking about healing and talking about health. And she caught on to a new idea that touched her heart deeply. And he said, people say that they inherit stuff from their family. And that's what she had always been told. She was a weakly little girl. She couldn't go out and play with others because she's too weak. And that you do not inherit any disease. That it's your thoughts that you're holding in mind and what you've been hearing all your life or what you've been thinking that helps activate those things. Because you are a child of God. So through your divine connection, you do not inherit that. But that can be created through your thoughts and your feelings. Well, she latched on to that. Like a little dog on a bone that wasn't going to turn loose. And she told her husband and her mother-in-law she wanted to be separated. Her mother can bring her food, and she's going to stay away from everybody, and she was just going to pray and get still, and she was going to see if this is a reality that can be manifested, because she believed in the power of God. And so she began to do this. And finally she was getting her strength back. She started going out and about, and people would see her and say, "Oh my gosh, Myrtle, I thought she was dead. I hadn't seen you in a long time. I knew how sick you were. And what happened? What happened?" And people began to come to her to find out what happened. She said in that stillness, she recognized there was truth there. And that she began to talk to her body and tell it to give her of the wrong information she gave. Her lungs, her heart, her mind, her body, everything. And as people came, they actually began to be healed. And I think over 100 years ago, there was a big revival going on all over, I know, the United States. People were being called healers because people had that faith of knowing there's a power greater than those negative thoughts and feelings, that as we open up our heart and find that truth within us, all things are possible. So healings were taking place, but her husband, Charles, he sat back and watched it. But he had health issues too. Actually, one of his legs, because of infection and different things when he was little, he had a shoe that was built up for him because he had several inches that he could, a leg was shorter. But, and he wore a brace and wore that shoe. And he was wondering, why do I have to have this pain? What is this about then? If that's healing's true, why can't my wife heal me? So he started doing more and more research. He was an intellectual. So he started checking out Jesus, but another thing he thought, there are other men that have walked this planet that were looked at as connected with the divine. There's, Buddha, there's Krishna. There are many, many more in other countries. And he began to research their life's path. And he found out that those men that were said they were enlightened beings, or one with the divine source, or one with the consciousness of the universe, that they had the same story as Jesus. They were conceived without having an earthly father. And we can start getting into those informations if you like. But the story is the same until they arrived at that place where they were one with universal consciousness, with the divine source, with Buddha consciousness, with whatever that energy is. So that was curious for Charles. But he began to recognize in each country, in each land, in India and everywhere else, there was always someone that came, way before Jesus' time even, that was giving the same knowledge, basically, to humanity. But what we've done, each of us think that our God is the only God there is. So we see a little baby being born that we've been taught of. A little baby born in a manger over 2,000 years ago. And that Christianity, or that Christ story, is very prevalent in the U.S. and beyond. as all master stories are, in different areas. And so in that little bay, there was a seed of divinity. And right now I'm thinking of the title of the lesson today is Fill My Cup, Lord. Fill my cup, Lord. I lift it up, Lord. Come and quench the thirsting in my soul. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Here's my cup. Fill it up and make me whole. What in the world am I talking about? Aren't you one that hungers and thirsts after the truth? The pure truth? And you lift your whole self up, especially your heart, is that cup to receive the inflow of that water of life that Jesus spoke of. When he was at the well with a woman and she was searching for truth. And she was talking about, well, where is God? Is he in the mountain? Is he in the temples? Where is he at? And he said, there will time come when you will not seek for him. He will be with you, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. For I can give you living waters that will quench your thirst. And he said to be the bread of life. And I've always questioned the bread of life and the blood of Jesus and all that. But right now it feels like that bread of life is not his flesh that we are told that it was a part of to eat, or a symbology of that. It's the living word that feeds our soul. As we begin to find the truth through someone else's eyes, or on a piece of paper, or in a story, and we begin to intellectually eat of those living words, they become life within us. When we begin to tap into that energy that's all around us, we live in a vast ocean. An ocean that we don't see the ebbs and flows of life coming in, around and through us. Every second of our life, that breath of life flowing in us. There's moisture in everything. And you consider that to be the flow, the river of life. I will rest by the side of the river of life. And I'll be changed from this creature that I am. Oh yes, there'll be peace in the valley for me someday. There'll be peace in the valley. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me. Someone's soul sang that out one day. And maybe they truly understood where they were coming from or not. But I've heard a song like that somewhere along the line. And in hearing that song, I believe I was taught that that means when we die and go to that place called heaven, that we'll have peace. There's no valleys of sadness and sickness and sorrow in that place I would consider heaven. But here on earth, there have been valleys and deep, dark places that we find ourselves in. But even right now, when we're walking through the valleys, there will be peace for us. And this is that someday, I believe, that we're starting to wake up to. We're waking up to that place. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow in us. Can you hear what I'm saying? It's when we really know that life itself, divine energy, divine consciousness, is what we're enfolded in, what we live in, and where we have our being. We begin to be transformed from this earthly state of always having to know from out there to knowing from within here. Our cup begins to be filled to overflowing. Overflowing. As Jesus said, that all that we ever need is already given to us. And the awakening or the illumined ones understand that. But you are truly here to begin to bring a manifestation on this in your own form of truth and knowledge. I think I've known this deep inside and it's been wanting to come forth out of me, but you do too. I'm nothing special. We're all the same. There's no big people and little people or high ups and low ups. Our ego tells us that. Our ego tells us that we're less than nothing, or our ego tells us all this. But when we start coming from that space of truth, we recognize we're all the same. And we respect everyone that we meet. But that's getting ahead of, I don't know, I think I jump ahead of the game a lot of times. I see out there and I speak it. But how do you get from here to where I'm talking about? I think it's just like Fillmore did. He saw the Christ. He saw the beauty of the consciousness of the divine through his wife. And yes, he had looked at all kinds of masters, but he knew here, I want to come back to, I'm in the United States, my wife's a Christian, all these people that are coming to her are Christians, that's their faith. I'm going to take a master and hone into one master and see how he came from the baby state to the master state. Does that make sense? So, if it's Jesus you're following, if it's Buddha you're following, if it's Krishna you're following, or any other guru, or yogi, or master, you put all your attention on that teaching, if that's relating to you, if that's resonating to you, and you stay with that path. And mostly, it's wherever we're born is the one that we're really, our teachings from our parents. But, okay, getting tapped on my shoulder, not necessarily. When Jesus was 12 years old, he had an experience. He was truly awakened to the fact that he had a creative life force or a father, something that wasn't of the earth. That was, I don't even know how to put it in words, but if we can get, that's where we lack on stuff. We don't have the ability right now. But we'll think a thing and you'll totally understand it without all this garbage of our own stuff getting in the way. But he knew he was the Son of God. That's why we lost those years from being a baby to 12 years old. He was learning the things of his parents, but yet there was a deeper calling. There's something more. There's something more. So when his parents journeyed into Jerusalem, or wherever, I'm kind of floating above all that stuff, but there is a time, you probably know the story, that they were there for a celebration or something, and they had journeyed from wherever they were. Anyway, the story's kind of blurred right now, but anyway. But you know, Jesus got separated from his parents when he was 12 years old. Anybody, y'all heard that story or not? Anyway, they'd gone somewhere, they'd traveled with family, cousins, aunts, uncles, all this. And it was time to leave. They were journeying back to their home. And they hear Jesus, 12 years old, you know, he's hanging out with cousins. He's hanging out with the friends and the family, and the aunts and uncles and different ones are going to look after him. So they're all walking. The adults are sure several of them are traveling together, and the kids are right around them somewhere. And they're all going home, back to their homes. 3 days journey. Mary says, Joseph, where's Jesus? Well, I think he's over at with such and such family, you know, his aunt so-and-so, or uncle so-and-so with their children. And he said, haven't you seen him? She said, come to think of it, I haven't seen him in 3 days. You know, years ago, you could let your kids just play out and you didn't have to worry about them because the next door neighbors were going to look after the children if they're playing in their yard and vice versa. That's when I was young. So this is kind. Everybody was family and friends, and they would make sure the children were safe. So they journeyed back a 3-day journey. and they were looking for Jesus. And I think it was 3 days, somehow 3 days they kept looking for him. And finally, after 3 days, they found him in the temple with all these holy people, the scribes, the Pharisees, the teachers of the day, the intellectuals. And he's sitting right there with them. And it said that they were amazed at what this child was telling them. They were amazed. But his mother was upset with him and asked him why did he do this? Why did he come with them? What in the world is he doing there in the temple with these priests and these Sadducees, Pharisees, and all these learned people? He doesn't belong there. And he said, I have to be about my Father's business. I'm sure that struck a chord in her because she was told that she was carrying this holy child. And he's the Son of God. He's 12 years old. You're coming back home with me. And so it said he traveled back with his parents. And he was in submission to them. So there, we take the story that they're raising him then. But there are ancient teachings. And I just happened to stumble over something I've had for years and years and years this week. A story of Jesus. And I didn't read everything that was in there because it's so big. But it was talking about that there are written manuscripts in the East about a child and his life, even on into the crucifixion. Just as the Old Testament gets the story of Jesus, they didn't use the name Jesus, but it was his story. They go on to say that there was a name given as a gift from the wise men to this baby. And that name that was given to that baby in the town of Bethlehem is the same name that he was called in India. And that at about almost 13 years old, Jesus was to be at 13 years old, that he would be betrothed to someone, that his wife would be chosen, that someday he would marry her, just like Joseph was betrothed to his mother. And at the time of Jesus' conception, it said they were not married. And, at that troubled Joseph, and he was going to have her put away. And say, let's do this really quietly, let's put her away, or else she would be stoned to death. And so here Jesus is, he's almost 13. And it goes on to say that he chose to leave home with a caravan and journey into India, I believe it was, where he could study with the monks, the yogis, those that were enlightened beings, to get to know more about his Father here as other people understood him. And he was one that he would be, just like he was in the temple, he disagreed with some of the priests and the rabbis and the authorities of what they had to say when he was 12 years old. Well, when he journeyed away, the story goes that he went into these, he was accepted. Every time he met a holy man, they saw the light in him. They took him in and they would keep him for years maybe. Yeah, years, I'm about that. They'd keep him for years. And he would study with them, but then he would correct them and disagree with them. When he went into the Hindu teachings, he would listen to the philosophy and see what they had, but he would correct things, and he said, no, there's only one God, not many gods. Well, of course, he would teach some of these guys off. They didn't like what he's saying. But then he would be moving on somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. So he too had an idea of all this on this level. So I guess that's where they're pulling me back to. We all need to look at these things that each enlightened master believed and know at the core of it, they're saying there is a source that we came from, a power that we live and breathe and have our being from, that created this universe and beyond. So we're at that place. So you find a master and you follow his teachings. So that's what Charles Fillmore did. He decided, I'm coming back to Christianity. I want to know everything I can find out about this baby Jesus and this man Jesus. And why did he say, come and follow me? For I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the light. We as humans take it. The man is the way, the truth, the light. But Jesus spoke on many different levels. That's why he gave his parables. His parables are his stories that he gave out in that day. Many people could relate somewhat to it because it was on the mental plane. He talked about seeds for the farmers. He talked about grapes, stories of the grapes and the grape vineyards, because they raised grapes. He talked of the olive trees because there were olive trees around. He talked about fish. He talked about things that they could comprehend on their level. So he was touching the heart, the emotions, and the intellect. But those seeds were carried on, and those stories were carried on. And as they did, we come to a place that people will hear them and they read them, and we could stay on that level of, thus saith the Lord thy God, this is it, that is it, my way, my way, I'm right and you're wrong. But that's not what he gave it for. It was to last for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, where we begin to evolve, where we can begin to hear the word at what we call a metaphysical level. Go beyond the physical teaching of it, into the heart of it. Go into the vibration of what is meant even in the story. Not changing the story. But even if you're going by metaphysical teachings, here's what Fillmore said. He said, I want to give you what I understand metaphysically. But I always have the right to change my mind. As I evolve, it will change. As you evolve what you know, it will change. When you get to the place that is coming from your own heart, that you too are connecting to that spiritual essence. And so it didn't happen overnight for him. He found a place and he would meditate at a certain time, and that's a good idea. Is to have a place that you go and every day at that time, or every morning, or 3 times a day, whatever you want to do, that you're still. And you're aligning with that energy. You're conscious of it. And as you're conscious of it, you'll begin to recognize it's conscious of you. Until that day, you begin to ask. And whatever you ask, you will, thank you, I haven't heard that before, you will totally understand it. You will know why you're asking for what you're asking for. And you will recognize, when you begin to shift into those higher vibrations, that when you're asking for material things, there's another step higher to go. There's a deeper place to go inside yourself. Because we are creatures of this material world in all that we see. The creative life force works in the spiritual realm with the knowledge and the understanding of why all these material things are here, all these solid forms are here. Yet, It's bringing you to a higher level. So in that, when you find out why you're asking for that, you'll find out what you're not, one of the powers in you, one of the powers in you that you're not using to bring forth those things that you are desiring. Because all things that you seek after, you are to have that. But we need to go deep inside and say, why am I not manifesting it right now? You're not operating in one of the 12 powers that's already in you. You are an overcomer of all this world out here. You will come to that place, if you continue your light journey, that like Jesus said, I am in the world, but I am not of the world. I am not seeking earthly things. I am seeking the higher knowledge. I am seeking the connection with the divine. I am seeking wisdom and understanding. And in that seeking the wisdom and understanding, you begin to understand. You begin to operate in the spiritual realm of that spiritual consciousness. And one of the things would be through faith. You'll begin to understand faith of knowing that you're never alone. You'll understand that you and the creative life force are one. You will begin to take back your power that was given to you since the foundations of this world as a co-creator with the divine itself. Are you with me? I'm listening to it too. You will continue to unfold and unfold from the inside out, where you will recognize you have nothing to fear, because the divine and all there is resides within who you are. You will begin to understand that you have power over your own emotional body. You have power over every cell and fiber of your body. And I'm hearing people say, how can this be? How can this be? When you begin to walk into that frequency of knowing, you will go through things that will squeeze that information out of you. That's why the vineyard and the grain mill are stories Jesus told. I'm being asked, do I have a story? I hate to refer to myself because I see myself doing it all the time, but this is about you too. Yes, this week, I had so much emotional pressure on me, I really thought that I might have a nervous breakdown, and I did not know what to do. My son's illness, and then more things on top of that, and I had no answers. I've been crying out to God, praying and seeking. But when all that emotional stuff got so intense, all of a sudden, I saw people in my life that could be in the middle of hell, a middle of emotional crisis, and be calm. They had taken power over their emotions, over their thoughts, that all kinds of things could be around them, yet they're at peace. Have you met someone like that? Seeing through the eyes of someone else. And then you come to the place you will see through the eyes of love itself. And God is love. But that's why humans look through that glass dimly, as it's recorded in the Bible. But when you begin to see face-to-face divinity, all understanding is yours. Little by little, word upon word, precept upon precept, line upon line, you begin to understand. It's not an overnight process, folks. You've journeyed this path for millenniums to come to the place of recognizing you are a master over this world. You are in the world, but not of it. This is graduation time, folks. Yes, it may take several more incarnations for you to come to the fullness of that mastership, but that is who you are. Earth plane is a pathway to mastership, of being over all the emotional issues, the pains, the suffering, the sickness, the disease, walking through it enough till you wake up to the fact that you're going to overcome this. Your body replenishes its cells. I've heard 7 years, but the gut and a lot of things replace within 3 daggone days. You're going to start going into maybe reaching into quantum physics to understand this. But why is it, if there's enough in that little atom, well, excuse me, it's not in the atom, it's in the energy between the atoms. The energy right here you can't see has more power than any atom ever had. That's where the power is, and in the unseen world. And in between, we're not solid. Everything that looks like it's solid, it's not. In between every little thing is light, is consciousness. And every little cell knows how to reproduce itself. But your thoughts give it an instruction what to do. It remembers the things of the past. It brings things that are old, ancestral stuff can pop up in the body because you believe it to be true, and you pass it on, until someone, the number 7 is at a complete time. There is going to be someone in the lineage of every person on this planet that'll say no more. I'm not going to be ruled by sickness and disease, because there's a power greater than that, than the sickness and disease in me. There's an understanding greater than that in me, in this physical form. When you arrive to that place, you are overcoming it, and you will overcome. Can you hear what's being said? For the power has already been given to everyone. Even those that are still out in what you call being off the mark, where it's in pain and suffering out in the world, as you would call it. They could not live and breathe and have their being if the creative life force was not flowing through them. They, just like you, are out learning lessons. Because you went that way too, folks. When you chose to incarnate on this planet, to understand, or you wanted to experience the lower vibrations, you journeyed down. You lost your identity. And you are asleep. The majority of people are still asleep. You're waking up. When this begins to ring as truth in your heart, you're waking up. And it's not this instrument, this person that's doing it. It's the Christ in you. As the vibrational frequencies come and touch your heart, it's up to you. It's up to you. For my words are not, Elizabeth's words are not the first person to ever speak what I'm speaking. For the words that I speak have been passed down for eons and eons since the beginning of time. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything has already been here. And now it's coming through individuals again to rebuild or restructure through co-creation of man or humanity and that invisible spirit of who you are. You are more than flesh and blood. So we can get back to basics. We can start with that little babe if you like. Look at his journey. And then see what Jesus said when he came to that fullness and knew it was time for him to come back to his land that he was born in. A place where nobody would receive him, but yet he was coming back right in the middle to his family and friends and bring the truth. And where did he go? Back into the synagogue. And read from the Old Testament that he came to open the blind eyes, to open the prison doors, and to set the captives free. In that, he was saying, this is the reason I came. And what is those prison doors? It's the prison doors in the hearts and things of our own mind. We are captive. We are imprisoned by our own emotions and our own faults, our own fears. And you have the power over it. This last week, I let emotional energy and my thoughts engulf me till I could hardly stand it. And then there's a deep settled peace. A deep settled peace. So whatever goes on in the world of the ones I love or anything else, I pray that I keep seeing through the eyes of love. And yes, I want to get to know you, because I know I am not fully unstuck. We're here, growing every day. If I was totally there, I'd see it. But we're on a journey together now, folks. And I want friends to be with me. Family and friends. We are a spiritual family. And we're here to support each other in our spiritual growth. And if there's someplace someone is weak, I've heard myself say this before, but I feel it at a deep, 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 deep level. Whatever you are going through, there's somebody in our midst that's already been there, and they know how to hold the consciousness to move through it, and the energy to move through it. It's like, oh, no, yeah, that happened to me. No big deal, you know. It was rough, yeah, it was rough, but I learned how to handle that. Maybe it's just breathe when you get tense. Pull in that life force that's all around you. That living water from the atmosphere. That breath of God. Let it just go from the top of your head, through your lungs, through your whole body. Ooh, let it touch even into the earth, for Mother Earth is a part of who you are. And then let it bring all that stuff up and just let it go. You'd be surprised when you're upset about something, or nervous about something special, tense about somebody you're going to see, or you're going to have to talk, do something in front of people. Do 2 or 3 deep breaths, knowing that life of the Creator is going in you and back out to be purified. The ebb and flow. Just as you breathe in the oxygen from the trees and from Mother Earth, and you breathe out the carbon monoxide or whatever it is that they can use. We're in harmony with the universe. We're in harmony with life. And we don't even know it. We don't recognize it. What we're giving, this earth is giving back to us too, when we recognize our place in the scheme of everything. we come back into balance, back into wholeness, knowing that we're here as one with all things. And so it is. Where are you with all this? I know usually if I ask anything, everybody freezes up. And they don't make comments. But just again, this whole truth too. Are you at that place that you truly are seeking and you feel it's time that you are finding somewhere, you're finding the truth that's going to set you free? What brought you here? And are you finding what you're looking for? Anyone? Come on.
Well, it's interesting.
It's done. It's red here, so it looks like it is tiny.
It's interesting Elizabeth should ask that, because as I drove to church today from Mount Airy, which is almost a 1 hour drive, I drove past a lot of churches, and I looked and thought, I could go to that church, it's a lot closer. And I actually did ask myself, why am I driving all the way to Winston to church? And it was easy. Unity Church is different. That's what I said. All those other churches I passed, I don't want to say that they're all the same, but a lot of them are the same. And I thought, Unity is different. I love this church. That's why I'm coming here. And I am a truth seeker. I think I still have a long way to go spiritually, but I'm a lot further along than I was when I first started coming here in April 2006. And I know within myself that I am growing spiritually. I'm seeking the truth. This church and Unity churches embrace all people. We're all the same and we're all different, but Unity includes everybody. Their guiding word is love. And even though I drove past a lot of churches today, to me they're all the same. This place is different and I love it.
Well, that's why I was drawn to Unity. It had the basis of Christianity that I could stand on and how I was brought up. Yet I knew what I'd been taught in the church. So much of it had gone contrary to what I thought. So I too left my parents' teaching at a very young age and started seeking somewhere else. And with my mother dying at 11, Daddy dying at 17, it opened up a way that I could start studying other religions. And in doing so, I found that East is meeting West. And when those things come together, when you understand or begin to be taught or even remember reincarnation, no one taught me that, it just started waking up in me. And then I started meeting people that believe that soul is eternal and that life is eternal. And it all makes sense. We're just growing in spiritual awareness together to bring thy kingdom that is to come and the will that is to be done on earth as it is in the higher dimensions of merging heaven and earth together once again. That's our mission. Someone else want to be brave enough to say, why you're here. Has it changed your life at all? You know? Has it changed yours? Has it changed? Would you like it? You're among friends.
I know, but it's so weird to talk like this. I mean, it's like, she's a teacher, she does this all the time, but I'm an accountant, I don't talk, I deal with numbers. No, but yes, I didn't grow up in church at all, so for me to come is completely out of normal character for me, but just like maybe 2019, I guess, I, started hearing truth, like just online, and I just know coming here, I am strong here, and I just know being around higher vibrations with people that, every time I come, I feel great. Every time I leave, I'm frame of mind and heart space, and I just want to continue to grow and be more in touch intuitively with guidance, and journal every morning and get guidance that way. But I would like to be able to just do it more freely, like you can. Like you can just, you're the channel. Like I'm trying to open my channel more, and I don't really know how. Just know being around people that can do it will help me learn ways to do it and just be healthy. And I don't know. That's all for now.
Well, the part of it is, it's not about one person. It's not about a minister. It's not about a board. It's not about all that stuff. It's that, well, it is part of it, but as people come together, holding that light, more light is coming through. The more we know of that power, more power. That's where it's written that where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name or in my energy field, in my consciousness, in my awareness of the divine, I'm right there in the middle of you also. So the more that comes, like when I've been in huge meetings when I was little, and actually I was having visions of angels being there and light beings being there when Billy Graham was praying for children that had polio and had the braces on them, and they'd stand up and start walking as those beings would touch them. That energy, a part of it, yes, he came in to be a channel for healing. But when enough people are there believing and knowing that these things can happen, wow. So the more you're in groups of people that are coming from that space of knowing the power of God is doing the work. So often we get off of our path thinking, looky what I did. And Jesus even said, of ourselves we can do nothing. But the things that I showed you, greater things shall you do. Someone else in your little clothes. Would you like to see something? What are you doing here? And has it blessed you anyway?
So Unity Church to me is, I feel like this is my spiritual family. I would like to spend time with my family. And the energy is just beautiful. And I love the concept that we get together, support each other, and grow, and play this game of life better at a higher level. So.
I like that, playing the game of life together as one. One of you like to say something before we close? I said no. Would you like to say anything? Okay. Well, I want to say thank all of you for being here, and I hope this has been a blessing. I'm not saying you have to come to this place, because that's what makes Unity different. We're not a group of people that say my way is the only way. You find the place that is right for you, and you walk that path. But for me, the path of love, just as you spoke, is that path that keeps us not on the left or the right, or this person is right and that person's wrong, or that person's wrong and this person's right, or however it goes. But we see through the eyes of love and grow together. Thank you all. Our loving Creator, we give thanks for this magnificent day, and we thank you for the blessings that are being poured out all across this world, knowing that all the chaos and stuff is the light pouring in from you, dear God, bringing up all the darkness in the outer world and also in us, that we can see the things that need to be transmuted and transformed within our own lives. And we're beginning to see the deep hidden things all around us, and knowing that God is in control. And for this, I give thanks. Amen.